Hello, Internet. My name is Chamomile.
And I am the real Requiem. There is nothing to be concerned about.
Sounds legit. Let's get going.
Yes. And what's your name again? Not that I don't know it, just reminding the viewers.
Right. My name is Chamomile, like the tea. It's,
Yes, and you're a human just like me.
That is correct, yes.
Yes, I love, respirating and growing through cell division and consuming food for sustenance. Those are perfectly normal human activities.
Yeah, no, I've done all of those things, like today alone, so, That checks out there. Those are all very, very human things to be doing. Which, I guess you're insecure about that, which I did not know that about you. That has basically never come up before now, but, you definitely sound like you're very human.
Yes, very human. I'm definitely the real Requiem. No need to come here and form a search party. No reason to verify anything. There's nothing to worry about.
Well, good, because, if you were missing, then I would have to get plane tickets, and honestly, I don't know if I would bother.
That's good to know.
I'm asking myself now, is there a way to skip this? Like, I know that at this point there's no way to skip this, but, we're doing a circuit here, I know at some point we get a fast travel system, but I think it does take a bit to come on, so for now we have to run through the gauntlet every time.
Does the gummy ship stuff do anything? Does it interact with the rest of the game at all, or is it just tacked on?
It's tacked on. It is, you can customize your gummy ship. There's a couple of different... It's a pretty good system, even. Pretty good ship customization system. It takes advantage of this sort of cartoony-looking aesthetic in order to make things really customizable with building the ship. I haven't bothered to edit it at all, but we'll probably take a poke at that eventually. Just spend 10 or 15 minutes tooling around with that once, just to see what it looks like. So, we'll save that for later in the game when we have a bunch of parts to work with. Yeah, so it's a fairly in-depth system, and it's good. It's a it's a decently well-made bullet hell plus ship customization game. But what does it have to do with the rest of gameplay? Nothing. It connects different worlds together. That's it. It's a thing you have to do in order to get to the rest of the game. That's all.
It seems like the last hurrah of games doing that. It seems like not even JRPGs really do this anymore. It's usually just the combat, not any sort of extra systems at this point.
Witcher 3 had Gwent.
I have not played any of the Witcher games, but... Didn't Final Fantasy VIII have some sort of card game they wanted you to play too?
Yes. Final Fantasy 8 and 9 both had card games as their little mini-game offering. And then...
10 had Blitzball.
Yeah, 10 had Blitzball, which... Blitzball is actually a perfectly fun game to play, but, it is almost entirely detached. You can win some prizes that are moderately helpful in regular gameplay, but it is almost completely detached from regular gameplay. And also, in order to be good at Blitzball, you kind of have to work directly against the theme that the Blitzball subplot sets up. Because, the Blitzball subplot is all about Titus working with the Besaid Aurochs, who are, these scrappy underdogs. But if you want to win at the minigame, what you gotta do is scout out some much better players that you can find lying around the overworld and replace, 80% of your team with these random other guys.
Oh, shouldn't they all be in like togas or something?
I mean, you know, if the whole we have to look like we belong thing was actually a thing. But no, this...
Because like Sora and Goofy are wearing pants, which would indicate that they're barbarians, because only barbarians wear pants at this time.
Right. Which, yeah, we gotta protect the world order whenever we remember to. So we have to keep to the Prime Directive whenever we can be fucked. Which is not today.
Give me a hand, will you? Move that pedestal over there for me. I gotta spruce this place up for the game.
Hercules is one of those like properties. That's not really the word I should use for it, but like sort of public domain concepts that like everybody knows, but it's like going to be really hard to actually adapt into any sort of media, just because the culture that produced it is so different from our modern culture.
Yeah.
What?
Like
Too heavy? Since when have you been
Hercules like
little?
killed his wife and children, and is the product of Zeus.
What are you doing here?
Zeus's adultery, neither of which you really want to put in
Colosseum.
media, particularly media aimed at children.
And I got my
Right.
hands full
Which is
preparing
why
the game. So run
they
along.
have Hera being Hercules' mother in the movie, which is not at all correct.
Yeah, terribly concerned when he is abducted by Hades, who is now Satan.
Ferocious monsters right here in the Colosseum.
And on one hand, like, Hades, the Disney villain, is fantastic. He is, like, the best part of almost any Kingdom Hearts game he appears in.
He's a real hero chosen by the Keyblade.
Also, yeah, notice our excellent preservation of the Prime Directive there. We just immediately tell him about the Keyblade.
What's so funny? I fought a bunch of monsters.
I mean, in the sense that we fought a bunch of small ones, yeah.
Hey,
So far as, like, you know,
this.
significant intimidating monsters go, we fought, like, 3?
You can't call
Yeah, we fought 3.
the hero.
But, you know, I guess that's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney Hercules may as well be an original character for how much resemblance he bears to the original.
Let's see what you can do.
You even get the thing where they use the Roman Hercules, but all the gods use the Greek names. There's this Greek Hercules, it's Heracles.
Right.
But for some reason, even though we switched to mostly using the Greek god names, we still use the Roman Hercules.
Which, yeah, I always wondered, is that Disney's fault?
I feel like it predates Disney, so I think it was because Hercules: The Legendary Journeys does that too, and I think that slightly predates Disney's Hercules. Let me look up Hercules: The Legendary Journeys really quick. The Kevin Sorbo vehicle. Yeah, Hercules: The Legendary Journeys premieres in '95, whereas Disney's Hercules is '97.
Okay.
So I wonder if it was the Kevin Sorbo vehicle that did it. Or if it's one of those things, for some reason, Hercules sounds slightly more pleasant than Heracles to English ears.
Maybe? I mean, Heracles sounds fine to me, but... By the way, pro-game strat for Kingdom Hearts. Remember to unequip your combo bonuses before doing these time trials. Because the only hit that matters on these barrels is the last one that will shatter them. And so if you have an extra blow before getting there, that's actually bad. I should just make it anyway, though. Yeah, there we are.
You know?
Which, so, the Hercules world
Looks like I'm headed for the game.
is our, you know, Arena Colosseum minigame. And like every
You guys
arena minigame in every
Come
RPG,
on.
there is basically no reason to actually come here. Like, we stuck our nose in. We have discovered that neither Riku, Kairi, nor Mickey are around. So at this point, we can just leave, right? But, which, strictly speaking, by the way, we can. This is actually an optional world. It's one of the only ones.
Oh.
But,
Doing a let's play, we might as well.
right. And that's also, I mean, there's definitely a subplot that occurs here. Like, there's definitely stuff to...
Rather a stubborn old goat, wouldn't you say?
I do love that they actually
Hades.
got James Woods for the
Yeah.
voice.
Wait, let me guess. You want to enter the games, right?
Although this is before he went all right.
Well, then,
Oh, man, did he go alt-right?
I don't know if he went full alt right, but he is a Trump supporter
It's all yours.
at bare minimum.
Fuck.
I'm pulling
Why does this keep
Yeah,
happening?
sorry.
And he is, like, one of the best parts of a Kingdom Hearts game. So now that's tainted forever.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, we are living in the darkest timeline.
We are. I'm just gonna have the headcanon that it was some sort of like Videodrome brainwashing that happened to him. Like at any point he's gonna go on Twitter and say "Long live the new Flash" and then be back to normal.
I did not stock up on potions before this today. Hopefully that'll be fine. But yeah, so there is an actual plot here, which I can't remember, but I don't think we even have to do this part. But yeah, so there's the initial preliminaries, have like a big chunk of plot in them. And then after this, there's a bunch of other tournaments that you can sign up for that we are probably going to do off-screen, if not on. We'll figure it out when we get there. But we do need that XP, so... Yeah, this is where Cloud makes his appearance. I believe there are 7 matches in this one, of which, like, 2 are plot relevant. I don't have healing magic yet, do I?
So we just have the sort of the question of why does this Greek Colosseum have a bunch of Heartless lying around?
Which is always the question with these arena games, these arena mini games in I guess not mini games so much as side quests in RPGs, which is like, where did you get all the monsters? Because they always, well, not true. I don't think Oblivion did, but they almost always recycle a bunch of monsters for the arena content, which makes perfect sense. You know, the basic conceit behind the arena gameplay is that I need to go buy potions. But the conceit behind the arena gameplay is that you are facing off against a bunch of challenging fights in a very self-contained arena. And I'm losing my train of thought because I'm trying to figure out how do I get more potions. I've got a couple of elixirs, so that's a good start, but I've got to load up my party. Do I have to fly back to Traverse Town and buy them from Huey, Dewey, and Louie? I think I might have to do that before I get Warp. That's going to be annoying. I may as well check the save point one more time, see if there's something I'm missing there. Because I know at some point you can use the save point to, Yeah, at some point you can use the save point to stock up on healing items, but that point is not this point.
So we're getting back on the gummy ship.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or I've got to try and beat this thing with no healing, which could end up taking even more time, so... Right there's my money. So yeah, I've got enough money to restock, so... I believe it is at the end of the 4th world, or the 5th if we count our idyllic homeworld.
I did not see our idyllic homeworld getting destroyed coming. Like, that was totally out of left field.
Yeah, nah, it's a huge shock. One of the game's big twists. It really, you know, leads off strong with the original plotting, which, you know, Kingdom Hearts will later on be famous for equal parts the unpredictability of its plot lines and the comprehensibility and streamlined nature of its backstory and lore.
So when does Venmo show up? Like, he's my favorite character. Like, I've seen all the fan art. I've never played any of these games, but I've seen the fan art, read the fan fiction, and he's pretty awesome. And definitely real.
I mean, you say definitely real, but I had assumed you were just referring to Ventus, who is a real character, and you were just intentionally pronouncing it wrong.
Venmo.
So it is kind of neat how when you play the gummy ship levels going backwards, you actually go through the course in reverse.
Oh.
It does kind of make the stages super annoying to play, just because of it means that in any given gummy stage, there's always like half the enemy ships are coming from your side of the screen, because the stage has to be equally playable in both directions.
Do they keep the gummy ship thing in the later games?
Yes, to a greater or lesser degree. I don't think it's ever required for travel between worlds again. It's required to unlock worlds instead, which is, you know, so far as actual gameplay, like good gameplay is concerned, is basically what it already is. Is that, yeah, you have to fly through the gummy ship to get to a new world, and then, if the game is functioning properly, you then do not have to do that again. But, you know, if we forget to stock up on items, or if we need to backtrack because we are trying to minimize the number of gruesome deaths, because those can get tedious, or stuff like that, then, you know, we end up having to... You know what? Gonna go ahead and stock up Goofy on high potions.
It kind of makes me think of in Mass Effect, all the mechanics that they would add and drop each game because they could not get a handle on them. Like the Land Rover thing in Mass Effect 1 that they dropped in Mass Effect 2. But then in Mass Effect 2, they had the scanning for resources, which was miserable, and they dropped it in 3.
And Kingdom Hearts actually stuck with the gummy ship thing long enough to get good at it, which is the better approach. Like, what, the Mako, I think?
Yeah, the Mako, like, it was a miserable part of the game for the most part. Like, it was very frustrating, but, like, it just needed some refining.
Yeah, and you know, by swapping it out for something else completely new, it just meant that they were once again, you know, back at the beginning. They were starting from scratch. They were designing a game they didn't really know how to design. They didn't have a whole lot of veterancy with that system yet. They hadn't really figured out how it worked, which meant that, I mean, basically the only thing you can say for planet scanning is that at least it didn't take very much time.
BioWare has this weird issue. That's kind of an unusual issue for a game company to have, is they're almost too responsive to fan feedback. And they'll do stuff where it's like, you actually should have just ignored the fans on that one.
Yeah, no, fans can tell you whether or not something is working, they cannot tell you how to fix it. You know, when fans say the Mako wasn't fun, that's valuable feedback. When they say get rid of it, then ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about. You know, what that actually means is that you need to fix the Mako because people weren't enjoying it.
Part of the issue was that it was just so unavoidable and would take up huge stretches of these missions while not being super well designed. Like, if they just reduced it or made it relatively optional, that would have been a big improvement. And then they could have like kept working on refining it to make it like actually a fun part of the game.
Yeah, which, I mean, by the time Kingdom Hearts 2 rolls around, which was only the third game in the series, because the mainline game numbering had only gone slightly insane at that point, the Gummy Ship was actually a good addition to the game. It was still pretty highly customizable, and the actual bullet hell sections were even better in Kingdom Hearts 2 than in Kingdom Hearts 1. In Kingdom Hearts 1, they're well designed mechanically, but a little bit lackluster in presentation. In Kingdom Hearts 2, you, like, you know, blow up battleships and space stations and shit, and it's really cool. And it's also, it's, like I mentioned earlier, you have to play a stage once to unlock the world behind it, and then you can skip it every time afterwards. So you don't have to do this thing like we do, where there's a bunch of busy work between you and your potion shop or whatever.
It's kind of been the frustrating thing with Pokemon is they'll introduce a new mechanic for one of the games, and they'll sometimes have a mechanic that is really enjoyable, but they don't keep a mechanic for more than one game ever. So something like Mega Evolutions, which is really fun and a good addition to the game, and then they decided to just drop it and just have it be that one game that had Mega Evolutions.
Yeah. Which, as far as I can tell, I mean, I'm pretty sure what it is that they're just making room for other stuff.
The Mega Evolutions, I felt like, were good enough that they should have just been part of the game from then on. Like the Z moves and then the giant evolutions they did. Neither one were as much fun as the Mega Evolutions. Like, the Mega Evolutions really changed the game in a way that was good. The Z moves were just not enjoyable to have. And the giant evolutions were basically Mega Evolution minus.
Right.
They were slightly less fun versions of Mega Evolutions. They've added 3 types over the course of Pokemon's lifetime, and like, they've all been pretty good additions, I think, to the game. They weren't something they just had for one game.
Yeah. And for a while, right up until Sword and Shield, they were good about keeping all the new Pokemon, which was important because every Pokemon is somebody's favorite.
What is your favorite Pokemon?
I mean, this is the basic bitch answer, but Charmander.
That is the basic bitch answer.
Like, I'm not super heavily invested into Pokemon. I do still play the games now and again, but for the most part, it is that game that I played when I was 9. Which, you know, obviously when you are 9 years old, you pick the Fire Dragon.
I did not.
Well, I mean, that fits in nice and snug with your being extraordinarily human.
Totally human, totally normal. Nothing to be concerned about.
So who was your starter?
Bulbasaur.
In fairness, I was about to say that the plant dinosaur is also pretty badass. It doesn't set things on fire, but okay, I gave you guys a whole bunch of potions, and I guess you're just not going to use them on me. Okay, I stand corrected. You will use them on me at the exact same moment that I use them, so as to waste the stock.
The impression I get from people talking about Kingdom Hearts is that how it usually works.
Goofy is usually better about it. Donald's potions are basically, you know, if you have spare money, go ahead and throw them into that black hole. If you're very lucky, they may actually use them. But usually he'll spend too much time unconscious and then not even notice when you're hurting anyway. These wizards are a lot harder to deal with when I don't have magic. It means I have to get close to them, and then they shoot me in the face. But yeah, Goofy is usually better about it, though. He usually actually heals you when your health bar is making the scary noises. And he is usually alive. God damn it. I have enough mana for one fire spell. Okay, really, Goofy? You gave the potion to Donald? Alright, fine. I'm using the goddamn elixir for this.
So do we get the backstory on the Heartless at some point?
Yes. Kingdom Hearts 1 actually has pretty well put together lore. Like, this is the solid foundation atop which they shall build their, you know, their rickety 18 stories made out of plywood designed by a 5-year-old with crayons skyscraper of lore that is to come in future games. But,
Sorry, but my contract says...
I know! You think I don't know? I wrote the contract! I know it says you're only required to kill Hercules in this tournament. But you gotta fight that kid to get to him. Come on. Hey, it's like that old goat said.
So did Cloud sell his soul to Hades?
It's all just a
he
game.
has some kind of mercenary contract with Hades. The exact details are not clear,
It's no big deal.
but, Cloud does seem to have the power to tell Hades to fuck off if he wants to.
Jeez. Stiffer than the stiffs back home.
Still...
Hades really gets done dirty by most modern portrayals of him. Like, he's not the best, like, because none of the Greek gods are, but, like, he basically just gets turned into a generic devil figure, which is kind of uninteresting.
Yeah, I mean, Hades, you know, like, he's definitely got his dickish moments, as just about every Greek god has. But in the myths, he, for the most part, yeah, he for the most part just wants to be left alone. Like, in almost every myth he's depicted in, is that, you know, he is just hanging out in the underworld, and then, you know, someone with a dead loved one comes to him and makes a mess in his living room because they're upset about that.
A really good modern portrayal of Hades, where he's the villain, but he's not a generic devil figure, is Hades Town, which is just amazing.
Yeah, no, that is... I've never seen it. I listened to the soundtrack, but, I mean, it's a musical. That's 80% of it. But, yeah. Hades Town is really nice. And also, it appears as though I have figured out how to fight these guys. Except in that I haven't mastered the timing on countering this. I really should just... There we go. Got him. Nice of you to join us, Goofy.
Do they, like, auto-revive?
Yeah, they come back after a while. You can cheese almost any fight in this game, by just waiting around for your teammates to come back for all of 30 seconds, chip away at the enemies. Oh my god, I still don't have scan. I have no idea how much HP this guy has.
You got a giant Buster Sword fighting Disney cartoon characters. Like, I just have an image of his head of him like splitting Donald in half,
That's the best you can
decapitating Goofy in one strike.
That's the best you can do?
Like, Final Fantasy VII is a little tonally off with the rest of this game.
Yeah.
Best you can do?
I mean, Final Fantasy VIII is the same.
Yeah, though I was thinking like I would
Final
love
Fantasy
to
VIII
be
is at
as-
least a high school anime. It gets pretty dark, but it does at least have a fairly lighthearted initial premise. Whereas, you know, with Final Fantasy VII, there is an imminent eco-apocalypse from the word go. Like, that is the opening premise.
it's
is
basically
that
the
we
real
are-
world.
Yeah. Is that it's a cyberpunk dystopia, so...
It's the real world. Except we don't have Buster Swords.
Yeah, it's the real world, except I doubt we're gonna turn this one around with the power of friendship.
Dude is
Okay,
annoying.
note to self, I cannot parry the Sonic Blade.
Thunder! Thunder! Here!
Is Cloud the last fight?
Yes, he is the boss fight of the tournament. And then there are shenanigans afterwards, but
Dang.
it is fortunately not necessary to win this battle. Same deal with the Squall fight, actually.
Oh, right. There was one other rule. I forgot. Accident happen.
I was wondering that actual Greek stuff would come into play.
Hey, Phil! Get them out of here!
Yeah, there's the beginning and the end of actual Hercules content. Alright, now I do have some spares. Which inventory management in this game also leaves a lot to be desired. I have to shuffle these potions over one by one. There's no way to just say, hey, dump 5 of these into Goofy's 5 open slots. And I guess Donald gets the stray potion because no one else has room for it.
So do you know what Cerberus means in ancient Greek?
I assume it refers to when an initially lighthearted comic strip becomes darker and more dramatic over time as the characters become established and long-running arcs develop.
Well, that is the primary meaning, but what's the secondary meaning?
Got me.
It means spotted one. So,
So he's
Hades
a
named,
three-headed
his,
Dalmatian.
Hades named his dog Spot.
Thunder! Thunder!
But I would kind of like to see a version of Cerberus where he's a three-headed Dalmatian. Aren't Dalmatians actually legitimately pretty mean?
I have not heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe they just weren't good, like, pet dogs. Like, their work animals.
Yeah. Cerberus is one of the first boss fights who has, like, a real pattern that you want to learn. If you don't count Cloud, who also has a pattern, but he is optional, you don't have to beat him.
I actually did kind of like the version of Cerberus they did in the EA version of Dante's Inferno.
Believe it or not, I did not play that one. The game primarily famous for how bad its marketing campaign was.
Well, I liked when they described they were describing who goes to which circle of hell, and they say ninth circle of hell is for treasoners, and I'm like, I feel like there's a word for people who commit treason, and it's not treasoners. Like, we do have a word for people who commit treason in English.
Yeah, it's treasoneers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I am timing these bites entirely wrong. Several times in a row. Good job with the potions, Goofy. I wonder if there's a way to set him not to spend them on Donald ever. I forget.
Let Donald die option.
I mean, it is the obvious thing to do.
So when do we start getting Disney characters in the party, other than Donald and Goofy?
That is on the next world we will actually... And they only ever stay around for one world. So, like, if there's no Disney characters in the party for a specific world, you can't go and pick up one from before.
That's lame.
But, there's ways to hack it.
But I'm guessing that when we do get somebody in the party, Donald is the one you're pulling out.
Oh, absolutely. My god. There's not a single NPC in the game who is more annoying than Donald. And I don't just mean his voice.
I wonder, is there like a diegetic explanation for his voice? Because none of the other duck characters talk like that.
I think the only explanation is it's Donald Duck. Like, we're well past the point where any attempt at an explanation would only be, would only highlight how dumb it is. You know, it's already become one of those things that everyone expects without thinking about it. So there's just no point to messing with that.
Now, I believe that the actual trick to beating Cerberus is you're supposed to, like, sing him to sleep. So, maybe start singing?
And do you know what kind of music he likes?
I do not. Presumably, who let the dogs out?
Okay, well, I'm putting you in charge of lulling him to sleep. Yeah, if he had a health bar, I would at least feel good about knowing how close he is to being done, but I feel like I gotta be underleveled. I do not remember any of these boss fights being this hard. I usually beat Cloud, and I usually walk through Cerberus without a whole lot of difficulty.
Are there, like, side quests we're missing?
Not really, but I think what it might just be is that, generally speaking, I am super bloodthirsty. And, you know, I run off and kill every last thing that I can. Whereas, you know, in a Let's Play, I'm trying to thread a needle between keeping my level up and not dragging things out too much. Oh, that's right. The cutscenes are unskippable.
So why does Hercules have a Cloud?
Because I guess Cloud is a little wimp and went down to Cerberus.
Kid, I got 2 words of advice for you. Attack!
So in the Disney movie of Hercules, which is not the original Hercules, but no, not that one. Thunder. But in Disney's Hercules, every time Phil says 2 words and then he says some non-2 number of English words, the translation of what he's saying in Greek is actually 2 words.
Oh.
I do not know if the Kingdom Hearts writers knew that and continued the tradition. Because, you know, most people, that gag goes way over their heads. So, you know, to most people, they just get the obvious surface level gag that Phil apparently cannot count. Which, by the way, my items remain expended, so
Oh,
we're
good.
doing this
This
in
is
one
going to
take.
get harder.
Yeah. Until we get the cure spell. Once we get the cure spell, none of the shit matters. At that point, we stop caring about items forever.
I mean, I don't think there's a way for you to beat this boss without more potions.
Yeah, I may have to run back to Traverse Town and restock again. I'm gonna get one more go on its own. Just because... No, you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna run back to Traverse Town and restock. And this time, I'm going to remember to save immediately before fighting the boss. So yeah, Hercules will be fine holding that guy off for like the next 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, probably.
Just fly to another planet real quick.
He's a demigod. He should be able to handle this.
Now, you know what? The cure spell is on this planet. We're going after this. We are just going to abandon that plot. Since it's optional, we can totally do this. We're going to abandon that plot just right at its climax and come back to it when we have a cure spell and have become basically invincible so long as we're able to keep our MP up. Which is just a matter of making sure that we hit the enemy more often than we get hit, basically. Because you gain MP from striking enemies, so... A shocking amount of work went into these gummy stages.
It's very Star Fox.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you can't tell immediately. You know, the presentation here is like fit for purpose but lackluster. But what made me think of that is just... So, you can come at the Tarzan world from either Alice in Wonderland or Hercules, and there's a different stage that you fly through depending on which way you go through it. Which, like, you know, the odds that one player is going to fly through both of them are very slim. But they did it anyway.
So the next world is Tarzan.
Yes. We are going to close out the episode on arrival. And we'll get into that one next time. And then we'll probably have, in the episode after that, we'll dash back to finish off Hercules real quick, depending on whether or not we can get through Tarzan in one episode. Which, maybe. The game has been going fairly quick.
It's weird how some of these... You go back to these old JRPGs and you remember it taking, like, a year to complete. And then it goes by much faster than you
Yeah.
expect.
Turns out it took a long time to complete because I was 11. Or more like 12 or 13, but yeah. So now we're pretending to be at all selective about what planets we land on.
Wow, Donald's a jerk.
Like, look, kid, your motivations don't mean dick to me.
I'm an agent of the king.
To which Sora responds, "Bitch, I'm player one."
Whoa! Oh, my head. Donald? Goofy?
I assume they died in the crash.
I mean, obviously. No one could survive that. You should be so lucky that Donald dies in the crash.
Buried in an unmarked grave.